At 8:43 p.m. local time on July 8, 2026, Air Force One lifted off from Ankara's Esenboğa Airport, carrying journalists, White House officials, and presidential staff. As far as anyone on board knew, the President of the United States was flying home with them. Almost immediately, the flight turned strange. The press pool was told to keep their window shades down. Then flight tracking data revealed something odder still. The aircraft wasn't broadcasting its position. For several minutes, the most recognizable plane in the world had effectively vanished from the radar picture. Only much later, after the aircraft reached Britain, did the truth come out. Donald Trump was never on that plane. He had slipped out of Ankara before it ever left the ground, and what looked like a routine presidential departure was actually the final act of an elaborate deception designed to keep him alive. To understand how it happened, you have to rewind several hours. Trump had arrived in Turkey aboard a brand new Boeing 747-8, the aircraft originally gifted to him by Qatar, which the U.S. Air Force had spent nearly $400 million and roughly a year converting into a presidential jet. It was meant to be the next flying White House, enormous, luxurious, and packed with advanced technology. But there was a nagging question about how well protected it really was. The legacy Air Force One fleet had been developed over decades with layers of defensive systems, electronic countermeasures, missile jamming technology, everything needed to protect a president under attack. The new 747-8 had been retrofitted far more quickly. Then geography made the question urgent. Ankara sits uncomfortably close to Iran, and while Trump was attending the summit, U.S. intelligence picked up what officials described as a credible, actionable threat. Hostile forces, including Iranian-backed groups, appeared to be preparing a possible missile attack against the president's aircraft as it departed Turkey. The first step was to plant a cover story. On the morning of July 8th, Trump posted on Truth Social that he'd be flying home on the old, familiar baby blue Air Force One. Meanwhile, the new Qatari 747-8 would depart Ankara early for RAF Mildenhall in Britain, supposedly so American troops stationed there could tour the new presidential jet before Trump arrived. It was a perfectly mundane explanation, and it doubled as bait. When the 747-8 took off, one potential target was already moving away from Ankara. The real operation was still waiting at the airport. That evening, with cameras rolling at Esenboğa, Trump walked to the stairs of the legacy Air Force One, turned, and waved, the picture of a president heading home. He stepped inside, and the doors closed. From the outside, everything looked normal. Behind those doors, though, Trump and a small group of aides never took their seats. They moved instead to a service door on the far side of the aircraft, hidden from the cameras, where an utterly ordinary airport catering truck was waiting. The kind that loads meals onto passenger jets all day long. Its very ordinariness was the point. Trump and his aides climbed into the enclosed cargo container on the back. The container was lowered, and the truck rolled slowly across the airport, drawing no attention whatsoever. Why would it? Catering trucks were everywhere. This one just happened to be carrying the President of the United States. It delivered him to a smaller gray military jet parked in a secure corner of the airfield. An Air Force C-32A, essentially a militarized Boeing 757. Trump boarded, and just like that, the real presidential aircraft was somewhere no one was looking. At exactly 8:43 p.m., the legacy Air Force One took off from Ankara with the journalists and White House staff aboard, all of them believing the president was somewhere on the plane. Then came the strange instructions. Shades down, no looking outside. Then the transponder silence. The aircraft flew without its normal tracking signal until it had safely reached the Black Sea near Istanbul. The passengers assumed they were flying home with the president. In reality, they were flying on a decoy, while somewhere else in the darkness the real president was already headed for Britain. When Trump was later asked why the journalists had been kept in the dark, his answer was blunt. They were probably on a dangerous flight, he said, given the people they had to deal with. The implication was striking. The journalists weren't just passengers, they were part of the deception. As long as the famous blue and white jet appeared to be carrying the president, nobody watching it had any reason to look anywhere else. Around 10:20 p.m., the C-32A carrying Trump landed at RAF Mildenhall. 9 minutes later, the decoy Air Force One touched down behind it. But the operation wasn't finished. The press couldn't be allowed to discover they'd flown on a decoy, and the public couldn't see the president stepping off a random Boeing 757. The Secret Service's last trick was the simplest of all time. Normally, when Air Force One lands, the press deplanes first and scrambles to set up cameras under the wing for the classic arrival shot, usually within minutes. This time, they were held back for roughly 20 minutes. While the cameras weren't ready, Trump was quietly driven across the dark tarmac from the C-32A back to Air Force One and boarded through another entrance. When the cameras finally went live, the door opened, the stairs were in place, and Trump walked down, flashed a peace sign, greeted the waiting troops, and headed for the Qatari 747-8. To everyone watching, he had simply flown in from Ankara on Air Force One. The illusion was complete. None of this was an improvised stunt. Behind it sat a formal framework known as the Aviation Operational Threat Response Plan, or AOTR, the government's protocol for coordinating multiple agencies when a serious airborne threat involves the president. In Ankara, that meant the State Department coordinating with Turkey and Britain, the FAA and military planners managing aircraft movements and flight paths, the Secret Service running the physical operation on the ground, and intelligence and military agencies clearing the president's route through the airspace. What looked like one audacious trick on an airport tarmac was really a sprawling operation involving diplomats, military planners, intelligence officers, and agents, all of whom had to move in lockstep. If any single piece failed, the whole deception could collapse. About a month later, the story leaked. The catering truck, the decoy flight, the hidden transfer, and the fact that the press had unknowingly played a role in it. Senior officials were reportedly furious, and understandably so. Reveal a trick like this once, and it becomes far harder to use again. An adversary who knows the president might travel in a catering truck will start watching catering trucks. One who knows a decoy Air Force One is possible will watch for the decoy, and for the transfer. The entire value of the operation lay in the fact that nobody knew it was happening. Once exposed, that advantage begins to evaporate. Nor did the questions about the Qatari 747-8 go away. Senate Democrats demanded answers from the Air Force, arguing the jet had been rushed into service and asking whether the administration had prioritized fielding a new presidential aircraft over completing every defensive requirement. The White House and the Air Force pushed back, insisting the plane was safe, secure, and mission-capable. Though after the summit, it was reportedly sent back for additional security upgrades. Whether the aircraft was genuinely vulnerable or the Secret Service was simply refusing to take any chances remains a matter of debate. One detail stands out, though. The C-32A hadn't been rushed to Turkey at the last minute. It had been pre-positioned in Ankara alongside the two 747s to support the visit. The escape aircraft, the decoys, the pieces of the plan, they were all already in place. When the threat emerged, the operation simply used them.